right, you guys, so first step of this build, we are going to test the fitment of our batteries that we already have from SMC Racing. So these are the 9700 milliamp batteries. They're 4S each. There's 2 of them for an 8S setup. And they're the same ones that I've been running in the XMaxx. This will fit. And oh my gosh. Looks like it does, with a couple millimeters to spare. All right, hardly any room to spare, but that's gonna be good. It'll have good weight distribution. It was easy. That was the easiest part of this whole build. So here we are using a 1717 Castle motor, censored, and it's gonna fit in the stock location, stock direction. So let's get this armor turned around. We'll get the body out the way and show you guys how to do that. All right, so we're gonna take our 2.5 millimeter hex tool and remove these 2 screws right on top of this motor mount. All right, so this is really easy to take out. I've already loosened these 2 screws up right on top of the motor mount. You take them all the way out in order to slide this all the way off. And then we're gonna get this lined up onto the motor like this. Mount it in 2 spots, whatever makes the most sense as far as where these wires are gonna be. Screw that down, and then we can go ahead and install the pinion as well. And then pinion pack has these 2 screws that will actually go screw in here and screw into the motor. Then when you go to put everything back in, because this is all aluminum, you're gonna need to use a little bit of blue thread locker. All right, just gonna line it up right on the edge. I'm not sure what the fitment looks like yet. We will certainly see here in a moment. Let me get this started. I want to fit this in place and see how this lines up. With this being right on the edge like that, I'm going to see if it lines up okay. All right, you guys, so the problem was actually the back of this motor here just getting in the way of this knob. So you can either take this piece off by unscrewing a couple screws underneath here, or starting with the motor pushed up against the back of this piece here and then twisting that into place. So you can see that's a tight fit. Bring that back out. We'll get the pinion back on and tighten that down. The pinion is a little too forward. That's a good shot right there. Let me lighten it up. So that's gonna have to go back on the shaft a little bit more. I should be able to do that by turning this way and then loosening the grub screw through that slot. All right, so something else I just ran into as well. The gear mesh will not go all the way because the motor is too big, and it ends up hitting right in there where the drive shaft is trying to turn. All right, so this optional pinion was a 27 tooth. We're gonna put a 29 tooth in. You can see it's a little bit bigger. That should be able to allow us to set the mesh without getting too close to that center drive shaft. All right, so now we can see, hopefully, let me brighten this up in there. This pinion is wider than that spur. It's back as far back as I can get it while still getting a tool in there to tighten the grub screw. You can see the backs just perfectly aligned. So not able to get that pinion centered on the spur, but we do have full contact on the teeth. So now I'm gonna go ahead and move the motor forward towards the spur so I can set the mesh. All right, so I've got the motor pushed in and still got good clearance from the center drive shaft. Test the mesh here. I can push this in, make sure that we're not in between. If you push the car a little bit, you can see that it's gonna grab the motor and then not fully settle until the motor turns. make sure you're in a spot where that motor is settled, and you can grab the center drive shaft because it's all connected. There's no center differential, it's just a spool. And you can wiggle that back and forth, feel the mesh, and then push the motor inwards more or outwards more, or whatever you need to do. Make sure you can still hear that clicking back and forth. You're gonna wanna tighten it down and then test, turn the motor, test, turn again, test. Make sure you don't have any high spots. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Oh, and also make sure you put Loctite on here because you're screwing into aluminum. For pretty much everything, I'm not gonna keep saying that. If you're screwing into aluminum or metal of any kind, make sure that you're using medium strength Loctite. Sometimes you're gonna wanna use red, especially for like a motor mount to the chassis, but most of the time it's gonna be blue. All right, you guys, so I've gone around and did my test, turned it, not as much, I literally went every little click, checked the mesh, no high spots, we're good to go there. These wires are gonna end up going over the chassis brace and into the ESC, probably just right here. So once it's in, I will probably just zip tie them down right here and figure out what we're gonna do as far as a motor fan and all that. But there's the motor, motor's in, batteries fit. Also, don't forget to plug in your motor sensor wire if you intend to run this censored. All right, you guys, so it's the next morning for me, but all the same video for you all. Next up, we are going to install the Mamba Monster X8S into the system, and here it is. What we're gonna have to do is get this whole side removed from the chassis, and then we can put the ESC in and then the receiver as well. Let me grab which receiver we're gonna be using with this build as well, at least for now. All right, and then the receiver we're gonna use is a Radio Link 6-channel, let me see, there we go, RC6 GS V2. I'll have to familiarize myself with this. All right, we'll set that aside for now. I'm gonna be taking out a few screws underneath here to get this box and this box out. So to take the receiver box and the ESC plate out, we're gonna need to remove the screws, let's see, here, 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 and then this one down here, and lastly, this one here. So let me go ahead and do that. And now, just lift this right on out. So the easiest way to get all your electronics installed is to go ahead and take the 4 screws out for the servo, put that on, take the receiver box cover off and put the receiver inside, and then of course mount your ESC here. You can use the screws if you need to, or just double-sided sticky tape. Get that on and then get everything put back onto the vehicle. I really like how they did that. All right, so let's get this top plate off. I'm gonna leave that screw in place for now. All right, so there's that. It's got a little gasket around the top, that's good. And a divider down here in the middle, so that's kind of smart. So if your receiver is small enough, which it looks like mine is, you don't need to take up the whole space, or you can have all the wires jumbled out on one side and work with it like that. Now, this receiver has 2 antennas on it, so I'm gonna have to figure out where I want to put the second antenna. I think I might just probably just screw a little hole right in the top here and put it there, I think. You can also see where all the wires feed through, 2 little foam pads that looks like the best way might be to come through the top like this and just squeeze it down in there. My receiver goes in here. I've got the 2 antenna wires. They can come out like that and then down. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm talking about in here. So that would fit in there just perfect. And then this, you'd have the 2 antenna wires go down through there like that. And all of the other wires, of course, coming in through this way, plugging in, and then the bunch of wires can be on that side. So let's go ahead and get some double-sided sticky tape and we'll get that in there. All right, to drill this other hole for the second antenna, I'm not gonna go through the top because I don't want to drill into where these threads are. There's actually an opening through here. It's hard to see, but you can see the drill fits right down in there, and then I'll come out through the top like that so that I know I'm not hitting anything. All right, and you can see I just missed that washer there, so it's not going to get in the way of mounting up the servo. All right, so that's in, very stiff, not going anywhere. Need my snips. There we go. And then I'll just push that in just a little bit more. And what I'll do is make sure that this gets over there, can fit. I'll figure out what height I want that at. I want to match it with this height over here, and then I'll cut it and put the little plastic cover over it. Stick that on. That fits in there nicely. All right, so that worked out for us perfectly by swapping those out. Now I've got some extra room so that when the servo is put in, I can move this wire around that servo and not get in any way. With this being the orientation that it's going to go into the car, I'm thinking that I want the motor wires closer there because then they'll just be able to fit right over like this. I don't want to cross the battery connectors all the way over like that. If I do that, then these battery connectors can just flip up like this and connect. I went ahead and just removed both of those screws. All right, so this is how I'm going to end up doing it. I have the motor wires facing it that way and routing the sensor wire through here, then out, and then down along the side here. Actually does make it to where it reaches just fine right there. Then with these battery wires having to go up in order to connect, that actually protects the wires a bit because they have to rest against the ESC versus being pulled out in this direction. So we'll go ahead and get the ESC put into place and then wire that up. All right, ESC's in. You guys probably can't see, hang on one second. Ooh. All right, fan cord right down where the tip of the tool was tucked down there, so that's out of the way. I'll have to figure out something to do with this power wire, but the sensor wire will just go up this way along the side, and then of course you can see the wiring along this, whoa, hang on, along the side here, going up through there and then into the ESC. So for this radio link, just refer to, you know, whatever receiver you end up using. Figure out which one's steering, throttle, all that stuff. Actually have the ESC in the wrong spot. Throttle, should be channel 2 on this one. Now just put the cover back on and screw it back into the chassis. The motor sensor wire, I was actually able to get 2 zip ties right in through this brace here, and then that tucks down around there, so that was good. All right, so now I've got the connectors all soldered up. This time I did it myself, and I'm really happy with it. It's very strong, and if there's any issues, of course, that will show up as an error on the ESC and on the log. So we shall see how this goes. Something I need to go ahead and test because of the length of this. Put the batteries back in, make sure that they can reach both of these. They should, but let me go ahead and test it out. Oh yeah, no problem whatsoever. This is the one I was concerned about. Couldn't exactly remember how long this wire was, but clearly that one fits, and this one would fit. We just need to spin it around and connect it. I'm not going to connect it right now because I don't have anything hooked up as far as steering or the remote. So looking good. All right, you guys, so another quick update. Got my cat pack in the mail. Went ahead and put a connector on it because I want to be able to swap out cat packs if I need to. I want to be able to solder this on one time, swap out as needed. I don't want to make it, you know, permanent, quote unquote permanent. But as you can see here, I got as close to the ESC as I could. Went ahead and tinned the wires here, and I'm getting ready to turn on the soldering iron, drain some solder into there, and then I'll get this hot, solder it together, make sure it stays, and then I'll need to do probably liquid tape. Cat pack I'll probably put along the chassis brace and zip tie that down, and that will basically just stay in there, and I'll take the batteries in and out until, you know, I'm ready to swap this out or whatever. So this is my first time wiring up a cat pack. We'll see how it goes. If you guys have any tips for in the future, definitely let me know. I'm trying to learn and show you guys along the way. All right, you guys, so I think this was a really good solder job. I went and, of course, I tinned both of the wires coming off of this plug, cut out the wire there and put some solder down into the wire. And then I used a couple bread ties to zip tie them together. Of course, you had solder cooled off and dried off on both wires, and zip tied it together, and then heated both wires up, fed in a little bit more solder, held the iron for a little bit longer, and then let it sit. And of course, not the prettiest, but I think that it will do exactly what it needs to do. So here in a second, I'll get the zip ties off, and then I'll go and get the liquid tape to clean that up, and then should be good to go. Really happy with how that turned out. All right, so I got the liquid electrical tape. I taped it up and zip tied the wires together right there, just to try to keep it somewhat clean. But this calls for 2 coats and 10 minutes drying time between each. The one coat looks pretty good, but I'll follow the instructions and apply a second one. But once this fully sets up, I'll have basically 2 zip ties. I'll take all the tape off. I will put that zip tie back there once again, because I don't want anything to snag and pull that joint apart. This might be overkill, but I'd rather be safe than have to resolder the cat pack later on. All right, you guys, so another quick update. The liquid tape has dried up really nicely. You don't see any bare wires at all. I know there's kind of a mess of zip ties here, but I really just did not want to risk any of this moving. If, you know, knock on wood, there just so happened to be a crash while doing the high speed runs. Yes, it will be a pain if I ever need to take all this out, take the motor off in order to change the pinion, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make in order to make sure that this stays nice and clean. So the last thing I need to put on is just the servo, and that I don't have to take all this off again in order to do that. I just move this out the way, take the box off, put the servo in, hook this up. Yeah, this is really coming along, and we should have our first run very soon. All right, another quick update. I've got a Racer's Edge glitch buster. So what this does, one, it's kind of a band-aid for minor electrical issues. It's not what this is being used for though. This is for if something was to happen where a wire would get disconnected or, you know, something along those lines. And normally you would run into an issue where the power gets disconnected. You won't have any steering, you won't have any throttle, you won't have anything. But if you have one of these connected, basically this, to put it in layman's terms, this fills up with electricity, and whenever you lose power, this starts to drain out, and it gives you a few seconds of being able to steer the car or slow it down, hit the brakes, you know, do whatever you need to do to try to get it into safety until you can get to the car and figure out what's going on. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this installed. Basically just gonna plug in there and then probably tape it down over on this side where there's some little extra room. But I'm gonna go ahead and install that. All right, just like that, we've got it plugged into channel 6, which is just an open aux channel. And we've got it double-sided taped right on the edge there. Not sure how long that's gonna stay. Feels pretty strong, but it's not just sitting in there. I don't want that shaking around. But there we go. Once we get the servo, should be able to still lift this up and out of the way, get the wire in, shut that back down, and yeah, I really like this compartment. It's a lot easier to work inside of compared to some other receiver compartments I've dealt with. All right, you guys, next quick little update. Got these silver belted 5-spoke wheels. So people said that these are a little bit better for high-speed runs. I think they look a little bit better too. We're gonna put those on. Boom, looking good, looking real good. All right, you guys, got the last thing, the Savox SB2290SG servo. We're gonna go ahead and get that installed right in here. Get the servo horn on, and then we're ready for a first run, well, a test run. All right, you guys, so finally here. First test run of the Arrma Limitless. Got the servo installed. Haven't even turned it on to make sure it was centered. All right, radio is on. Here we go. There's that. I want to go into the controller settings and change this to without reverse. Let me make sure I'm connected first. Connect to B-Link. Because it's going to be safer to not have reverse at high speeds. Without reverse, okay. Send settings. Because you don't want the motor, while the car is moving forward, you don't want the motor to, you know, sense that the tires are loose and then kick reverse. And it's just going to be a bad time. So hopefully now, and I'll test it once we're off the table and on the ground. You can see last time what happened there. All right, here we go. First run. I'm gonna try to keep it easy. All right, so I don't have forward throttle. I'm gonna guess. Yeah, so I've got reverse. So it looks like the motor direction needs to be swapped. Well, that's weird. Now when I hit reverse, it goes forward. I need to reverse it from the controller? Oh my gosh. What's going on here? Steering reverse. Throttle needs to be reversed. That's forward. And no reverse. Okay. All right. We're good now. We're good. So we're going to close out of that. Okay. So looks like we've got no brakes. That's not good. Yeah, no brakes at all. Let's see if we can figure out why. I know why. Because without reverse, okay, that's fine. Brake amount 50%. Drag brake, we don't want drag brake, so it's got to be with the remote. So throttle input is 0. It's reading. So we'll turn the reverse throttle back up to 100. Let's see if that's going to do it for us. All right, we've got reverse now, or we got brake. We don't have reverse, which is what we want. That's exactly what we want. All right. Very touchy. Oh, jeez. There are a ton of rocks down there. Holy shit. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, this thing is going to be insane. Oh my god. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Just how fast it goes up and down the road. And it feels like just at any speed, it wants to just break the tires loose. Amazing, amazing, amazing. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this build. The Arrma is just totally awesome. Just that quick little run there, I can tell that it's going to be so incredibly fun and fast. It felt like at any speed, just going up and down the road there, I could just hit full throttle and it would break the tires loose. Yeah, I really cannot wait to do a first speed run with this thing. If you guys want to see that, be sure to hit the subscribe button, notification bell, so you know as soon as I post a video, you'll be notified. And yeah, this is going to be great. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great weekend. Take care.